One down, will the two others follow? UPenn President Liz Magill resigning in disgrace after she was unable to condemn anti-Semitism raging on her campus during a congressional hearing last week. And the Harvard Board of Governors reportedly meeting behind closed doors to determine if their president, Claudine Gay, should be the next to go. Remember, she insisted that we should consider the context on when students call for the genocide of Jews. Protesters swarming Harvard's campus with billboard trucks that called for her firing. But she is getting some support. About 700 members of Harvard's faculty urging the board to spare Claudine's career in the name of, quote, resisting political pressures. And Saturday Night Live seems to think that the real villain here is the congresswoman who asked the question, the show going after Elise Stefanik in a sketch making light of her.
Now, I'm going to start screaming questions at these women like I'm Billy Eichner. Anti-Semitism, yay or nay?
I'm sorry, what?
Yes or no is calling for the genocide of Jews against the code of conduct for Harvard.
Well, it depends on the context.
What? That can't be your answer, UPenn lady. Same question, yes or no?
Well, we are serious about stopping all forms of hatred, anti-Semitism, Islamophobia.
Not the second one. And keep in mind, if you don't say yes, you're going to make me look good. Am I winning this hearing?
So imagine, Judge, that they actually do a dress rehearsal for Saturday Night Live, and they still went with this. But we found out just before the show that Cicely Strong was initially going to be a part of the sketch, and she backed out saying she was uncomfortable with it.
Yeah, she was uncomfortable with it, and I think it really speaks to her integrity because she had actually gone through the when they did it ahead of time. But I think that the identification of Elise Stefanik as the antagonist here, as opposed to recognizing what is going on in the universities, just shows how clueless Saturday Night Live was. I mean, this is not funny. They couldn't make it funny. Elise Stefanik is not funny. The whole issue is not funny. And you know what? These presidents, instead of cloaking themselves in this free speech, at the same time, they are willing to shut down conservative speech. And it's interesting, at Harvard, where Claudine Gay is still president, apparently there was a deanship held by a black law professor who then joined the legal team of Harvey Weinstein. And they threw him off out of the university. They took away his deanship because they didn't like what he did. And yet they can't say that killing Jews and calling for genocide is worth throwing off campus. It's like they don't know what the conduct or the context is. What is the context other than calling for the death of Jews and the fact that you've got Jewish students on campus who are afraid? And the kudos goes to people like Bill Ackman and the rest of them who are not going to tolerate it, because the president is not standing up for this. No one is standing up for the rights of the Jewish students who are being intimidated and threatened and, locking themselves, as far as Cooper Union is going, in a library. So I think more than anything, what they've got to do is they've got to get rid of all of them. Magill is the first one. And by the way, she's not totally gone. She still has her, she's still in the faculty. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like a smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, Jesse. The fact that, at Magill, the president resigns, but it's not like she resigns as looking for work. She just resigns and goes back to being a tenured professor.
Yeah, that's like Biden saying he's not going to run for re-election, but we're still stuck with him for the rest of his term. I see this as about money. These universities raise so much money, and most of these places don't care how woke it gets as long as you keep bringing in the money. But when you screw up this badly, it's going to affect your ability to raise money. So if I were Harvard, I'd be thankful for Elise Stefanik. Who cares if you're going to let her look good? She gave you an opportunity to take this woman out, and you have to take this woman out fast because she is a joke. I was always told the Harvard people were smart. Mm-hmm. I was always told that school was for the best and the brightest. I always aspired to send Jesse Jr. to Harvard. No longer. He will be going to Dartmouth or Princeton. You expect the president of a school like this to be able to say yes or no. Yelling, kill the Jews is harassment. She couldn't do it. I don't think she's that bright. I don't think the lawyers that briefed her are that bright. Apparently, questions like that, along with is the border secure, and what is a woman stumps Democrats. They can't answer the question. And I was just at Trinity College, where I went to school, Greg. It's a prestigious university in Hartford, Connecticut. It's a university. Okay. And I just got briefed on my president.
Online school?
She's... Just let me finish. She's also the president. She's probably the same type of person as Gay at Harvard. Well, I just got an email from her that they've created a task force on campus climate. And that's a follow-up to the task force of Trinity's action plan for racial justice. The school's falling apart. The dorms don't look great. They haven't built anything new. They've brought in all these students who hate Trinity, who graduate, aren't successful, and then can't donate to Trinity. So they're running out of money. And then they shut down 2 of the fraternities at the campus, and they banned drinking on campus. Like, the school is sitting there falling apart. I'm not going to be the president of Trinity. Someone's going to have to save Trinity. And it better be someone better than Miss Gay or any of these other people at these Ivies. They lead normal people who can raise money and can answer simple questions.
Greg, this is the New York Times headline. As fury erupts over campus anti-Semitism, conservatives seize the moment.
Of course, that's what conservatives do best. We seize.
We pounce.
Isn't that interesting how they suddenly forget the context?
Yeah.
It's like when conservatives do it, there's just no context. But when they do something really, really bad, they use 6 decades of context. Just briefly on the SNL thing, we don't know why Strong backed out. It could be because it wasn't mean enough. Like, she wanted it to go harder. We don't know that. There's a lot of comedy in that. I mean, when you have a group of academics who label any speech, like violating pronoun usage, as violence, but then when someone actually calls for violence, they can't call. That's hilarious. I mean, the hypocrisy is gold. But the SNL is just, they can't do that. They're cowards. A lot of people are calling this going after the professors as a suppression of free speech. That I don't agree with that, because the calling for genocide is an intimidation to suppress free speech. So you got to show those people the door. It's not when somebody is calling for you to die, that's to scare you into silence. So that is not free speech anymore. And then when they said, well, you know what? We're not. It only becomes a problem when it's acted upon. So you have to wait for the genocide to actually start before you can go, excuse me, there will be consequences. That's how you got Nazi Germany. It's crazy.
But, you know, the interesting thing is they never said it wasn't free speech. They said, what we're asking you is, would the code of conduct allow this on your university? Who knows better than the college presidents?
Well, that's what I wanted to ask Harold, because Jesse brought up the law firm that, I can't remember the name of the law firm, but
WilmerHale.
Okay, WilmerHale. So WilmerHale briefed and prepared for the testimony all 3 of the presidents, right? And what I can't imagine is, one, that no lawyer at WilmerHale said, this might be a problem, this doesn't sound good, but that none of the presidents said, I'm not going to say that, I don't even believe that. And yet they get through all. Imagine, you've prepped people, you've prepped for hearings, you've prepped for clients, and that is just astounding to me that nobody raised their hand and said, this is going to be a problem.
It's good to be back. The test of leadership for someone in that position, president of any organization, certainly a school, an institution of higher learning, and I think Jesse made a point. You may have been making light of it, but I think you're being serious. Harvard is a metaphor in most of our country for what higher education, the best of higher education, should look like. And it's under assault. Hopefully they're able to recover. Penn is a great university, as is Harvard, and hopefully we're able to recover. I'm a graduate of Penn. To your point, Dana, I don't know how, if someone asked you the question that this Congresswoman Stefanik asked about genocide of Jewish people, killing anyone, does that violate your code of conduct? If you didn't know it or not, you would say it violates my own personal code. Yeah. And number 2, it violates the code of conduct at our university. Right. And if someone quarrels with you, Judge, and says, well, it does depend on if they act on it, I'd rather answer that question after the hearing as opposed to being in the hearing looking as if I'm saying it's okay to kill any kid. Now, second or third, a university president has to make it safe for kids to learn, to be challenged, to dissent, to be able to accept dissent, to understand a different point of view. But to Greg's point, you can't make it where a kid feels unsafe because he or she believes that the person they're conversing with, debating, or a professor actually believes that they shouldn't be allowed to sit in the room because their people or people who look like them should be killed or should be extinguished or exterminated. These to me seem like really simple things. My 9-year-old daughter was curious as to we talked as how this could not be something that no person could understand. Her school teaches kindness and respect. How do you not teach these are just basic principles. So as sad as I am for this episode to be happening because I'm close to it, I signed many of these letters asking for answers from Ms. Magill and even asking for a resignation. It's a sad day for my school, but it's one that I hope we move on from. And that we learn from and that we grow from because we have a great tradition at Penn. And I hope that we are able to get back to it.
A lot of people writing about that, saying that Magill is only the beginning, for example. And that was that commentary.
Yeah, I just wanted to finish because, Harold, you brought up your 9-year-old daughter. And that's the point I wanted to make was that your 9-year-old daughter can define.
Who you know.
Yes, who I know. She could define an atrocity. She could define what a woman is. But you have this weird trend where the most powerful adult women in the country can neither define a woman or genocide. Two of the most easily definable things on the planet. And when you try to force them to define it, they require context for chromosomes and context for sexual atrocity. They're putting your daughter is not stained by ideology yet. They are. They've gone through the brainwashing industrial complex. They're putting ideology over female victims. How does a person go from innocence to excusing rape and murder? There's a machine in academia that they go through and spits that out. That's the scary part.
I think the best way to destroy that machine is what Elise did. Ask direct, simple, straightforward questions to these people under oath. And everybody in the country can see they can't answer.
And the amazing thing is she kept asking it over and over. It's like a witness on the stand. If they keep asking it over and over, maybe I'm not giving the right answer, and they know what the answer is. So any excuse, whether it's Wilmer Hale or it's the Constitution, has nothing to do with the moral core of calling for the death of people.
Indeed. All right, up next, President Biden getting walloped in the polls, and panicking Democrats think Hillary Clinton could save the day.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.